Yo, what up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Pnoid News. Man, listen, so Florida wants to, have its own military. Not really, but that's how the hell it is, like a daily beast. And CNN and MSNBC are talking about it because, the news is terrible, right? So I'm gonna give you some background and some history and actually show you exactly what's going on with this because I kind of think it's important, right? And I mean that we have these really basic ass conversations about what we are as a country. So here, check this shit out.
We have over 20 military installations we have throughout Florida. There's almost $100 billion annual impact supporting about 1 million jobs. So we're supportive of our installations, our active duty, our veterans, our National Guard, everyone across the board. And so today we're happy to be here to make a couple great announcements. I've been making some announcements about what's going to be in our budget, which we will roll out very soon. And I'm proud to say that this budget is going to have major investments to support Florida's National Guard. In fact, we're recommending more than $100 million to support our National Guard to ensure they have the means necessary to carry out their mission, whether that be the federal functions that they can do overseas, whether that's supporting disaster recovery and relief operations here in Florida. Across the board, when we need help, we have the Guard there for us. So we're going to have $87.5 million to expand the existing Readiness Center in Miramar, and we're going to build 3 new armories across the state of Florida. These armories will house up to 1,500 soldiers once they are complete. We're also going to do $8.9 million for existing armory maintenance and $2.2 million for a new headquarters for the National Guard counter-drug program. This program assists law enforcement efforts to reduce the supply of illegal drugs, will continue to fill an unfortunate void left by the Biden administration's open border agenda. And finally, $5.1 million will be earmarked to support Florida National Guardsmen seeking higher education, which will help them support themselves and their families throughout their civilian careers. For our active duty military and veterans, we're going to be proposing $12.2 million in scholarships for children and spouses of deceased or disabled veterans, and $3.6 million to improve base infrastructure and support projects that will keep our military installations among the best in the nation. Now, the National Guard here in Florida has answered the call time and time again. If we go in Bay County and those areas in the Panhandle, we had National Guard supporting that response and recovery mission with a Category 5 hurricane. And we've seen other instances throughout Florida's recent history where the National Guard was on the front lines of those disaster recovery and response efforts. The National Guard logged, since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, has accounted for over 660,000 man days for the Guard, which is basically the same amount that they did when they did the Hurricane Andrew, which was the biggest disaster that we had faced in quite some time. So from the very beginning of the pandemic, where we actually pioneered the drive-through testing down in Broward County, yet other people from the national federal government come down and look, and they mimic that in other parts of the country. We had National Guard involved in going into nursing homes and providing testing and other types of screening to protect our most vulnerable. When it came time to do vaccine distribution, you had National Guard helping out with that response in a very, very big way. And so we appreciate all the effort that's happened over the last year and a half. It's made a huge difference. We also want to make sure that we have the flexibility and the ability needed to respond to events in our state in the most effective way possible. And some of that will require us to be able to have access and be able to use support in ways that are not encumbered by the federal government or don't require federal government. So I'm going to be recommending in the budget $3.5 million to reestablish the Florida State Guard. The Florida State Guard will act as a civilian volunteer force that will have the ability to assist the National Guard in state-specific emergencies. This funding will support the necessary training, equipment, and other support functions for up to 200 members who can aid in the response to hurricanes, natural disasters, and other state emergencies. We want to be able to have a quick response capability, and reestablishing the Florida State Guard will allow civilians from all over the state to be trained in the best emergency response techniques and have the ability to mobilize very, very quickly.
All right. So, that's some basic shit right there. And I'll be honest with you, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really have a problem with that in any way, shape, or form. But we need to have a conversation about, like, why it is that we don't have state guards anymore. So let's start, where it starts and shit, right? Fucking, like, yo, this is Charles Dick, right? This is a guy back in 1903 who took all of the militia members, right? We used to have like state militias and whatnot, right? And like these state militias, like I'll give you a little bit of history and shit, right? Because this is important. All right, so it says, during the 19th century, the militia in each U.S. state and territory operated under the Militia Acts of 1792, which was extended by the Militia Act of 1795. The 1792 and 1795 Acts left the question of state versus federal control of the militia unresolved. In consequence, the federal government could not consistently rely on the militias for national defense. For example, during the War of 1812, members of the New York militia refused to take part in operations against the British in Canada, arguing that their only responsibility was to defend their home state. On another occasion, the government of Vermont unsuccessfully attempted to recall his state's militia from the defense of Plattsburgh, claiming it was illegal for them to operate outside of Vermont. Now, so in response to all this, this is 1903, right? Fucking, this is the Dick Act, right? Fucking hilarious, right? Also known as the Efficiency and Militia Act of 1903, or the Dick Act, was legislation enacted by the United States Congress to create an early National Guard, and which codified the circumstances under which the Guard could be federalized. It also provided federal funds to pay for equipment and training, including annual summer encampments. The new National Guard was to organize units of similar form and quality to those of the regular army. Now, where are we at? Okay, and intended to achieve the same training, education, and readiness requirements as active duty units. Now, see, a lot of these mentalities, right, are things that a lot of you guys probably aren't going to understand, right? Especially like if you're not part of this channel as a whole, you don't come and watch my content on a regular basis. This is something that you may not understand, or you may understand, I don't know, either way, right? So let's take this back to the Civil War. The result of the Civil War is, he said, before the war, it was said the United States are. Grammatically, it was spoken that way and thought of as a collection of independent states. And after the war, it was always the United States is. And we say today without being self-conscious at all. And that, they say that kind of sums up what was accomplished by the Civil War. It made us an is. So, we stopped being like members of a state. We started being members of, a country as a whole, right? And this is breaking down rather quickly. And it's as a result of many things, right? Number one, the balkanization of different cultures in different states, right? Due to the fact of, a lot of different places a few different places having power: New York, D.C., Alexandria, L.A., San Francisco, and everyone else kind of feeling left out and left behind. And then on top of that, the population explosion to where you can't really have a fucking functioning country with 330 or 380 million. Nobody has any idea because the government can't even count. And then the breakdown and degradation of the government itself, right? It's kind of important. And so as things are breaking down, a lot of these old mentalities are coming back into being, which is fine because, when you retreat back into something that makes more sense, this is why, like, you're supposed to have a culture and a heritage and things of this nature, because it allows you to have a foothold. So when you lose your grip, you can just, grab onto something and go, all right, man, fuck that. I'm cool. I'm right here. I know where I belong and we're all right. Right. So let's keep going a little bit about this history because I grabbed another piece of this. It says several problems were identified with the National Guard during the Spanish-American War, such as units suffering from low levels of training and readiness and a lack of standardization in organizational structure, uniforms, equipment, leader qualifications, and professional development. The Secretary of War, Elihu Root, and other military leaders took steps to reform the Army, including the National Guard. Root's allies, including Charles Dick, congressman, later senator from Ohio, and chairman of the House Military Affairs Committee, also served as president of the National Guard Association of the United States. Dick was a veteran of the Spanish-American War and a longtime National Guard member who attained the rank of Major General as commander of the Ohio National Guard. Dick championed the Militia Act of 1903, which became known as the Dick Act. The 1903 Act repealed the Acts of 1795 and designated the militia per Title 10 of the U.S. Code, Section 301, as two classes: the reserve militia, which included all able-bodied men between the ages of 17 and 45, and the organized militia, compromising state militia, National Guard units receiving federal support. Now, when this was done, like one of the generals actually sat here and said, hey, look, I don't think this is fucking constitutional, right? That's kind of where the mentality was at with some of this shit. They were like, dude, I don't think this is really that fucking constitutional. So with that being said, right, I want to sit here and put this like this, right? I think the state should have the right to defend itself. Right, especially from the federal government. I feel like yes, it's going to cost us more as taxpayers, which is fucking trash, and I hate that shit. But on the same point, this federal government is becoming more corrupt and more garbage as we go on. Whether it's the right or whether it's the left, it doesn't matter. Both sides are just fucking trash, right? And the last defense of that is violence. It is what it is. Right. And I kind of wanted to go into how I see a civil war happening as it might be. But I'll be honest, I think this is a better way of doing this video. So, with that, I'm going to stand here and leave this here. And y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. I think this is a better way to do it. Right. And I know it doesn't get as many views this way because I'm not, being a piece of shit. Right. Like everybody else is. But, we got morals and scruples out this bitch. It is what it is. Anyway, look, Tom Pease. You know how it works. Like, share, and subscribe, motherfuckers. Later.